health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to Accelerated Health TV and radio show. I'm your host, SARA BANTA. I'm a health coach, natural supplement expert, and a busy mom of three. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below so you're notified every week with my new podcast on Mondays and Tuesdays. And if you haven't already, join the free group coaching on Telegram with the link below. There's no downside. I teach you on a daily basis with tips and tools to enhance your health, and you will be a part of a like-minded group to support you on your journey, in addition to truly taking control of your health. The protocols and supplements I discuss are all found at SARABantaHealth.com. Today, we have Heather Hiniker back, and we are talking about the benefits of PEMF therapy. Welcome, Heather. How are you?
Hi, guys. Great, Sarah. How are you?
Good. So excited to be with you. And this is a topic, as I was talking to someone else the other day about the stacking of modalities, right? You've got to sleep, you've got to exercise, you got to eat right. But then there's all these amazing supplements and technologies, and you don't have to be married to just one because there's benefits from all of them. And PEMF, which is not easy to say, is one of the big ones. And so we're going to dive into different ones and all of your favorites. So why don't we start with what is PEMF?
Okay, so PEMF stands for Pulsed Electromagnetic Field Therapy, basically. People relate to it most because they understand that our Earth's core has a magnetic field, basically. If we were to be put in a nickel box and we didn't have exposure to that magnetism of the Earth, we would die pretty shortly after being in that box. So it plays a huge role in our cellular health. There's hundreds of PEMF devices. I want to go into really what it's doing. So you think of pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. And a lot of times people say, electromagnetic, was that EMF. This is completely different. So there's frequencies and high frequencies and EMF exposure, which is not good. So we're talking, microwaves, 5G. These are really high frequencies that are not good for us. Pulsed electro PEMF is actually similar to what the Earth is emitting. So you've heard of people grounding. Basically, when our bodies are exposed to the good, healthy pulsed electromagnetic fields that the Earth naturally does, it allows our cells to repel each other. When we were cavemen, we were all walking around barefoot on the actual Earth, and that was doing wonders for our health. Now we all wear shoes, most of the time rubber, and we're not letting any of that magnetic field get through to our bodies to affect our cells. And so what tends to happen is the cells kind of start clumping together or sticking together, and this makes it really hard for them to detoxify themselves. So, the waste and toxins that would normally escape out through the cell membrane and work with the lymphatic system to be flushed out of the body, they just start compiling because all these cells are stacked together. Well, when you expose yourself to PEMF, the first thing it does is it allows the cells to repel each other. Also, it is helping to charge the cells to increase the millivolts of the cells, and then also increase that permeability factor that we always talk about, which is an indicator, huge indicator of health, the phase angle. Just exposing yourself to PEMF, you're actually helping to increase that phase angle number. So your cellular permeability is better. And so now when you're taking accelerated health products and supplements, that's actually able to get into the cell instead of having it too rigid or hard or stacked with other cells, your nutrients, your supplements, your water. If you have bad cellular integrity, it's not going to get into the cell. And then, like we said, the bad stuff isn't going to get out. So what PEMF does, in my opinion, it's actually playing a huge role. most of our clients actually own a PEMF at home. So I pretty much every single morning I do an 8-minute exposure just to get the cells separated. And then the particular PEMF that we use, I'll go into in a second. It also increases blood flow and oxygenation. Doing that lasts for 12 to 16 hours. So to have that optimal cell function, anything else you're going to do throughout the day is going to be, more effective, right? So if you're coming in and doing other technologies, if someone doesn't have the PEMF at home, we basically put them on there first so they respond to other frequencies and other modalities that we have way more effectively. Trying to think, I'm going to go in because, there's all different kinds of PEMFs and people get pretty overwhelmed, I would say. Before we decided to bring a specific PEMF into Ascent, I went down the rabbit hole and looked at, there's these high-powered PEMFs and some of them are $40,000 and we always want to have the best thing here at Ascent. And so I really thought, higher is better, right? I want to get one of the high-powered ones, but they definitely have their place. But for exposure on a daily basis, I believe that a lower frequency PEMF is more effective in regards to what it's doing on a cellular level. Now, the high-powered PEMFs, there's some of them have been proven to help heal bones. So when you're dealing with someone that has a fracture or something, that's when a high-powered PEMF most definitely has its place. But if you are really just trying to affect yourself on a cellular level and, reverse age on that cellular level, you're going to want a low-powered. There's an actual law called Arndt's Law, and it talks about low-level stimulus. So just, very slight, similar, like the subtle energy that the earth gives helps support us on a cellular level. And then as you start getting higher and higher, it begins to have a negative effect on the cells. Really high-powered PEMF, or not PEMF, EMFs or 5G exposure, that's what actually begins to like arrest and retard cellular function. So what we've found is by, there's no escaping the 5G. We've talked about this, right? But there are things that we can do to mitigate it. And PEMF exposure on a daily basis on a low level will help to mitigate the damage that we're exposed to on a daily basis. So do you have a question, Sarah? Sorry.
Just real quick, I want to emphasize the cells. And you talked about them being stuck together. And I'll never forget, obviously, when Jackson was 9 years old and I went to do live blood cell test. And that was when we put his blood underneath the microscope and saw the cancer cells. And this was my 9-year-old son. Never saw this before, but the cells were all chained up and clumped up. And then they looked like donut holes because there was no nutrients in them. So because it was an acidic environment, the cells were all clumped up together. There was no way that the healthy food that I was giving him, and really didn't have much supplements for him except for like Juice Plus or whatever was the thing to do back then when my medical doctor, the pediatrician, told me to, because I knew nothing back then. And his cells weren't even getting the nutrients in from the food that I was giving him. We then put him on the accelerated silver for 1 year. And the cancer cells went away. But not only that, the cells were nice and dark and plump and filled with the nutrients. And it was like an aha moment. What our cells are doing in our body, where our energy's coming from. And you can't argue with the picture of the blood underneath the microscope. So just by that, and I know PEMF, you can see before and after blood from just one treatment that probably shows that exact thing. And what I try to tell people with their diet, it's, and their exercise and all these modalities that you need to stack together is, if you go and have your green juice and say, well, I'm eating healthy, 80% of the time, but then you're going out and having a burger and a margarita, the cells are going to then get clumped up together, and you might not take in the nutrients from all of the good meals that you're taking in. So my point in saying all of that is this is one more biohack that you can incorporate to give the cells more viable voltage, energy, ATP, so that it can take care of you when you are being bombarded by 5G and smart meters and not eating right on the weekend. So just wanted to put that in there, but continue.
So yeah, I mean, and you make a really good point, right? Our cells, they all have mitochondria in them, the little batteries to our cells. And if you think about as we become depleted with energy and, our mitochondria aren't firing on all cylinders, that's when PEMF also comes in to really kind of recharge the batteries, if you will, to give you more energy. I mean, that's one of the first things that clients typically say after being exposed to the PEMF. So we have 4 modalities that incorporate PEMF. One, Sarah, you're very familiar with, is the biocharger. When you look at that, it has a big red coil. It's a Tesla coil. So PEMF, and in even studies, has gone back to the 1700s, believe it or not. People are familiar with Tesla, who actually did a lot of research in regards to what PEMF is doing for us and how good it is for our cells. And then it's just evolved. I mean, there's PEMFs that actually, or PEMF classified devices that only use PEMF as the conduit of another signal. So that's what I'm going to talk about that we have in-house here. So we have a Bemer, we have a few Bemers here, and Bemer is another acronym. It stands for Bioelectromagnetic Energy Regulation. It's a mouthful, but it's classified as a PEMF, and it's one of the only PEMF devices that has a Class 2 designation from the FDA. What separates it from a lot of the other devices is the fact that it has a patented multidimensional waveform, so a signal that's actually introduced to the body via PEMF, pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. But its patented signal, in addition to being exposed to the PEMF and allowing the cells to separate, this patented signal actually increases blood flow within the capillary system. So I love to touch really quick because people don't realize how expansive the capillary system is. So you think of your circulatory system, the majority of people think of veins and arteries because that's what Western medicine tends to treat. But the veins and arteries only make up 26% of your circulatory system. So the large majority are the teeny tiny capillaries that go through every tissue, every muscle, every organ. An average person, if you actually stretch those capillaries out, it's about 75,000 miles of vessels in one person. That almost goes around the earth 3 times. So it's kind of a cool thing to wrap your head around, right? That's in each of us. Well, that network is so expansive that there's no possible way our heart can have the responsibility of pumping blood through all of those thousands of miles of vessels. And so the capillaries actually have their own action, and it's called vasomotion. It's the constriction and dilation of the capillary walls. So the PEMF aspect of the Bemer is, yes, allowing the cells to separate, but now once they're separated, it's increasing blood flow within the capillaries by 30%. And along with that, it's increasing oxygenation of tissues. And again, that's specific to this particular PEMF device. So it's a little different than others. Sometimes people use it in conjunction with a high-powered PEMF. I personally use it every single morning, and then I sleep on it at night. It also has a sleep program. So I have it under my fitted sheet and mattress protector, and it just gets my blood flow going. So 24/7, I have optimal blood flow. The vasomotion occurrence, it's almost like a pump, right? So when we're in our prime, or someone like an elite athlete, they probably have 4 to 6 pumps in 1 minute. When someone has something like diabetes or they're elderly, they might only have 1 pump in 4 minutes. So what this particular PEMF does is it increases that instance. And then the higher powered PEMF that the biocharger has, just by sitting within 6 feet of that field, you're being exposed to the good PEMF. It's a little higher powered. It's doing a little different, but it is working on that cellular integrity to increase the voltage. We talk about our cells are energy. Well, they all have a measurement as far as voltage as well. We are energy, we are voltage. And for a cell to be able to create healing or new cells, you need to be at about 50 millivolts, and most people are not. I mean, most people are barely maintaining at 25. And then when the millivolts drop past 25, that's when things like disease and diagnoses and pain states tend to happen. So by exposing yourself to PEMF, you're also able to increase that voltage. So the cells can actually regenerate and make new healthy cells. And then the other PEMF aspect, we have a whole body vibration that's a huge speaker, but it also employs PEMF when you're standing on it. So a lot of our clients don't realize that even when they're doing the whole body vibration, they're actually getting the PEMF exposure. And then we have a new one that I'm actually on training, and I don't think Sarah's even experienced it yet. But it's another modality that incorporates microcurrent with photobiomodulation and PEMF, and there's different applications. It's more for repolarizing the body and the meridian points, because just like a flashlight, when you have that batteries stacked up, if you flip one of those batteries, the entire flashlight won't work. Well, that happens within us. Our batteries flip and we're not polarized, and so this particular device helps with the polarity, and then it also has a charge where you're actually able to charge each of the cells and increase that millivolts too. So some new awesome stuff coming down the way for sure. And then I know, Sarah, there's hundreds of PEMFs. I know that you really like your AMP coil. And
yeah, I'll talk about that for a minute. But all of these things, what I love about them is, and I'm just going to go off the handle right now as far as the trending topic of Ozempic and weight loss, and that people are just ready to take the shot to get the results, right? Because they just don't feel good. Okay, so when you don't feel good, your ATP is low, your voltage is low, you're reaching for the coffee, the monster drink, and you can't get your energy up. You're going to fast food because that's what fits into your lifestyle, and your ATP gets downregulated, and you accelerate your aging, and all, it's a vicious cycle, and you don't know where to turn it around. Well, that's where these things come into hand, because they are helping give your body a jump start. So then you have the cellular energy to feel good, to then be able to make the changes in your life, to change your sleeping habits, to maybe change your food, and maybe lose weight in a healthier way. And I've been really going down the rabbit hole of weight loss because you have to be healthy to lose weight. You don't lose weight to get healthy. And what people aren't understanding is that it's liver fat and insulin resistance that's causing obesity, not the other way around. So what does that mean? And there's a reason I'm going into all of this, is that when you are eating high fructose corn syrup in the standard American diet, it's not only triggering you to be more hungry as you're eating, right? The body's supposed to eat and say, I'm full, let's stop eating. When you eat high fructose corn syrup, the seed oils that are infiltrated in all of these restaurant foods, the fast foods, standard American diet, anything that comes in a package, even the organic stuff, that is actually telling your brain, I'm more hungry. So then you're going to eat more of it, but it's actually taking your ATP down. So instead of giving your cells energy, it's taking away energy. And here through these devices, you're actually able to increase the voltage, increase ATP, and increase your cellular energy. So then you have the energy to incorporate a healthier lifestyle. So that's why I love all of these, and they're all at different price points. I mean, the big bad boy is the Biocharger, probably out of the price range for most people. I love, and I came across the AMP coil system, which is an all-in-one system, biofeedback, bioresonance, and sound, and PEMF. And so it creates that pulsed electromagnetic field by sending tones and frequencies through an amplifier that you put on yourself. And you can travel with it as well. It's a magnetic coil that sends penetrating PEMF to the body. And what you do is you actually use a voice print. You speak into it, and it will take the voice and tell you if you have a virus, if you have E. coli, if you've got the flu, or what have you going on in your body. And then it puts you on a journey that can actually go after that. There's some general things, just for sleep, for relaxation, for nutrition. You've got, a lot of people with Lyme disease really find success with this because it actually was created by a husband and wife with both Lyme. What I love to do is actually take my voice print from there, or my voice print from the Genius app that is on my phone. And that's another device that it uses PEMF in one of the programs. But you can actually scan your body with a voice print. Both the Genius Insight app and the AMP Coil use the same technology for voice print. And then you could actually go and set up a program on the Bemer or on the Biocharger according to your scan. And that's what I love, where the AMP Coil does more general scans, where it will tell you, you are low in your nutrition. The Genius Insight app will actually tell you you're low in vitamin B12 and your hormones are here. And what's great is all of these devices work together. I use the one on my phone, which is the least expensive out of all of the things we're talking about, to scan my body, to get a full daily print, not a printout, but just to see where my body is. Is my thyroid slow? Am I about to menstruate? How did I sleep last night? All of those things. And I'll take that information and apply it to a journey with the Biocharger or the AMP Coil. Price differences across the board with all of these. On the AMP Coil, there's one program that I love. It's called Full Moon. And of course it addresses, water retention and parasites, because parasites love to come out around the full moon and the new moon. Now you can then go to the Biocharger and do a parasite treatment. That's going to be a stronger treatment than the AMP Coil. But when you travel, you can't take the Biocharger with you. You've got to be taking a Bemer or an AMP Coil or the Genius Insight app. Now, does the Genius Insight app treat? Yes, but it's at a much lower level of effectiveness as some of these other ones, where the AMP Coil's amplified, right? And the Bemer is much more effective as well. And then I would say the Biocharger, because it's incorporating multiple technologies, that it is probably the most effective. So I don't know if I'm missing anything there, Heather. What do you think?
No, I mean, it's always important to remember too, certain devices, they have different frequencies or intensities being emitted. Bemer specifically, there are 10 different intensities, but higher is not better. So when you start incorporating a PEMF, in my opinion, it's almost like you want to really understand the depth of tissue that you're trying to affect. So you think about soft tissue in the body, like eyes, brain, myelin sheath, nerve pathways, super slight, super soft. Those depths of tissue tend to respond more favorably to the lower intensities on Bemer. So intensities 1 through 3. And put it in perspective, intensity 1 is like 3.5 microtesla. I believe the Earth emits about 50. So it's even less than what we're being exposed to if we walk around barefoot. The majority of the body is made up of things like skin, organs, muscle. And so those are kind of mid-range tissues. So you do mid-range intensities, intensities 3 through 6 is really on the full body mat for the Bemer. And that's the other thing, all PEMFs are different. The Bemer specifically has a full body mat that affects the body systemically. And typically you just stay on the mid-range for those. Like I I alternate every single week from 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then I go back to 3. You don't ever want to do something same with any technology because your body is so smart, it will get used to it. So you want to constantly change up frequencies and intensities and, your magnetic field exposure. And then, the really dense tissues in our body, like bone and, deep ligaments and tendons, those respond to the higher intensities. But if you're only doing the high intensity all the time, that's really all you're affecting. And then your body's going to get used to it. In fact, I have a personal story. When I first got the Bemer, I had a bike accident and I actually broke 2 ribs. It was the first time I'd ever broken anything, and a small bone in my hand right here. And went to the doctor, got an x-ray, and he's like, yeah, you have 2 cracked ribs. And I'm like, oh, I feel like I have internal bleeding. Like I can't even breathe or walk. What can we do? Because like I'm a mom, I own a business, like I have to go back to work on Monday, and this was on Saturday. And he's like, there's nothing you can do for ribs. And I'm like, okay. I remembered in our training for the Bemer that they talked about the high intensities and how they help form osteoblasts, so bone cells. So I took one of my accessories. So the Bemer actually comes with the full body mat, and then there's 2 other smaller accessories that are to be used for acute issues. So something like this, a broken bone. I took the accessory that looked like a belt and I wrapped it around my ribs for, hours each day, because I was like, let's see what this thing can do. Within a day and a half, I had no pain, and within a week, my ribs were healed. So that's how effective PEMF can be. And they do have studies proving how it helps heal bone. I know there's some brain studies. NASA actually incorporates PEMF. They have little PEMF devices that helps with bone density, because when the astronauts are going up in space with the lack of gravity, they have bone issues, blood issues. And so they actually, Bemer specifically, they're working with in order to incorporate the Bemer into a spacesuit, believe it or not, because it's patents. It's NASA. NASA can recreate whatever they want, right? But they can't infringe on someone's patents. So they decided to be in collaboration together for that. So that's something exciting that should come down the road. Yeah, and I'm trying to think if there'd be any additional questions. Most people understand PEMF, especially when you talk about the grounding and everything. Most clients, when they're coming in for the first time, they're familiar with that term. I'm just trying to think what else.
Are there any side effects or people that should not be doing PEMF or too sensitive for it?
That's a great question. So most of the time, any device that is sending out a signal, like a magnetic field or a frequency, you're going to want to stay away from interfering with any electronics that are administering medicine to the body. So like an insulin pump, or sometimes people have, different pain medications being administered that way. So any electric pump that's administering medicine, also it's not so much a contraindication as it is talk to your doctor if you have something like a pacemaker. Today's generation of pacemakers can tolerate Bemer for sure, but there were some older ones that it could affect. Bemer specifically, if someone has had a donor organ, and the doctor puts you on an immunosuppressant, because if you have an organ transplant, the doctor is going to put you on an immunosuppressant so that your body doesn't reject that organ. Well, the Bemer actually has been proven to increase immune function. It increases a molecule called the ICAM1 molecule, and it's an adhesion molecule that the white blood cells need in order to do their job. And the white blood cells are supposed to be adhering to the capillary walls so they can start combating, bacteria, viruses, all of that good stuff. When blood flow is not optimal, the red blood cells tend to move at a much slower rate, and they're clumpy, right? And then the white blood cells tend to move with them. When you have optimal blood flow, you can actually see white blood cells kind of just rolling around or adhering to the wall, doing their job. And then the red blood cells are rushing by that. That's how it's supposed to look. And so Bemer specifically spent millions of dollars proving, what the Bemer's doing. So they have a I think it's like a 2-minute video where it shows someone's blood or capillaries before Bemer exposure, and then several minutes into it, halfway through it, and then up to hours after. So the Bemer signal actually affects the blood flow in a positive way for up to several days after, and then it starts slowly falling off. So if you're doing it how I do it, every day, you basically have that optimal blood flow and oxygenation of the tissues 24/7.
So vasodilation, you've talked about a lot. In the last 3 years, what we have seen has happened to people because of long COVID or just the spike protein in general is that has been hindered. And so this is becoming more needed and necessary. And like I tell my husband all the time, as he complains about having to eat organic and take supplements and do all this stuff, and says, well, we're not meant to be doing all of this. And I said, yeah, you're right. Our ancestors didn't have to, but they weren't exposed to all of the toxins in our food, in our environment, all the radiation. And now we're in a new reality. But what's great is that as much as there's all these toxins and things that are threatening our health, there's inventors that come up with these biohacks to bring us back in balance. So I now want to get into some other hacks with the patches and the diet and some supplements that will enhance your results with PEMF. And the first thing would be to incorporate some intermittent fasting, which increases ATP and mitochondrial health, improves detoxification of the heavy metals, the bad estrogens, radiation. It reverses insulin resistance. Did you know that 45% of the United States has fatty liver disease, and over 80, and I think it's closer to 90% of adults have prediabetes or diabetes? So I'm talking about you, unless you are doing something about it. And intermittent fasting is a free way to actually start reversing that. It improves fat burning, improves the metabolic flexibility to eat the carbs and eat burn the fat as well. Helps balance cholesterol levels, which we're seeing are rising just because of the spike protein. So take the same person 3 years ago and the same person today, nothing else changed. Cholesterol may be higher. We also see strengthening in bones just from intermittent fasting. And so the supplements that I recommend for everyone during this time and to incorporate with the PEMF therapy is the Acceleradine iodine. And one of the primary health benefits is to increase that ATP and mitochondrial health. It does so by 18 times in all 100 trillion cells of the body. It supports your thyroid health, reverses hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, which most people are suffering from now and didn't suffer from 3 years ago. The thyroid is the master endocrine gland. It's controlling your adrenals, your sex hormones, and everything. So if it's not working due to iodine deficiency, which most people are deficient, 96% of people are, it's no longer in our diet, and the iodine that is in our diet is toxic. So there could be a cascade of hormonal and adrenal issues, estrogen dominance. Men, are you having a hard time building muscle? Do you have man boobs? That's estrogen. Women, are your hormones and your periods or your menstruation much more painful? That's a sign of issues with your hormones. Could be connected to your thyroid and low iodine. And sorry about that. That was my Genius Insight app, by the way. And also the iodine deficiency is known to be the #1 predictor of depression and brain fog. And we all know that more people than ever are suffering from mental illness. Acceleradine is antifungal, antiparasitic, antiviral, antibacterial. So it works in conjunction with these PEMFs. And I'll just tell you a personal story. since for the last 3 years, every time I am exposed to the spike protein, I get a skin rash. And it's some sort of virus that is coming out and peeking its little head, telling me that your immune system is on alert. I don't feel sick, but it's my sign that I need to do a treatment on the biocharger or the amp coil, or use it with the Genius Insight app. And the Acceleradine is working with the accelerated silver to be antiviral, antibacterial, and going after that as well. Because if your immune system is fighting this over here, it's not going to be able to fight a real threat when you come across it. It's also going to slow down your metabolism because it's in survival mode. Your body says, okay, we're under attack by a virus or a bacteria. We're going to slow down that thyroid, slow down the metabolism, put ourselves in fat storing mode. All of these things we don't want. And then you get this unexplained weight gain without doing anything different. Okay, so there's the Acceleradine iodine. And something that I went into, and you can find on my Accelerated Health TV and radio show, is can you overdose on iodine? I went into this, and I go into the fact that the studies that show that you can overdose are not really founded, and it was never replicated. So please go back and watch that. And why we are overdosing, or why we are taking high doses of iodine now when we didn't have to back for our ancestors, was because we are being threatened by the halogens of the fluoride, the chlorine, and the bromide in our environment. So what happens is, if you've got plenty of iodine in your body, those other toxins can't get into the same receptor sites. And if you don't have iodine in your body, then those toxins are going to fill those receptor sites in your breast tissue, causing breast cancer, or in your other tissues, causing other disease. So this is why it's really important to be taking the higher doses of the Acceleradine. Next is the accelerated keto. This is a key to intermittent fasting. And this goes back to the theory. Let's get your ATP up. Let's suppress your appetite, so then you can do all of these things. Do the PEMF to start feeling good. Increase that voltage, that ATP. Well, when you do that with the Acceleradine, the accelerated keto is also increasing your ATP by 5 to 10 times. It's improving mental focus, increasing your performance. It's converting fat into energy. So your body says, oh, I've got plenty of energy to burn on my body. I don't need to eat. And it's actually telling your thyroid to speed up, because you've got thousands of calories to burn. Versus, remember when we used to buy the SnackWell's 100 calorie packs of energies, of snacks, and we'd eat all through the day, right? Well, our bodies got smart. It was like the bank account, where I only have $20 in the bank. I'm going to slow down my spending because I know I only have $20. Well, when you're eating only this amount of calories, but all day long, your body says, I'm going to shut down my metabolism. When you're intermittent fasting and you're using the accelerated keto, your metabolism bumps up because it says, oh, I've got thousands of calories to burn. I don't need to slow it down. And so then it also allows for better cognitive health. And there's ingredients in there like the L-theanine that is lipotropic, meaning it breaks down the saturated fats into unsaturated fats in the liver. Now, you remember I told you that 45% of the United States adults have liver fat, okay, or fatty liver disease. That's not the alcoholics. I'm talking about the non-alcoholics. 45% of you have fatty liver disease. And the accelerated keto, the L-theanine in it actually helps break down that liver fat away from the liver flush that I want you to do 4 times a year. So for those of you too scared to do the liver flush, just by taking the accelerated keto, you're breaking down your fatty liver. And then the more your liver's defatted, the better your thyroid hormones are going to convert from T4 into T3, which is your your actual active thyroid hormone to improve your metabolism. And it also has the tricatu and mucal that help burn those extra fats, and also is a slight diuretic to let go of that water weight. Water retention is something that is many people are experiencing from the spike protein and from long COVID. So that is nice that you're able to get rid of that extra water weight. And then the combination of the pure caffeine, which is a natural form of caffeine, doesn't give you jitters or the caffeine crash in the afternoon, but the combination of that with the teacrine and the dynamine give you this amazing synergistic energy that lasts all day long. So if you're fasting and eating one meal a day, which I don't recommend doing all the time, but you can easily. I actually have to remind myself to eat because my energy is so good and it just is stable and it just doesn't go down. So that's the accelerated keto, and then combining the accelerated thyroid to boost the thyroid health. Most of you are suffering from Hashimoto's and slow thyroid, hypothyroidism, but also it's also helping people with anxiety and depression, because most people with anxiety and depression are on antidepressants, and it's because they have suboptimal thyroid health. So they're getting on the accelerated thyroid, which is helping them get off of their anxiety and depression medication, of course, with the guidance of their doctors. But unlike any other thyroid supplement, it is enhanced with the scalar frequencies to detox the thyroid from the heavy metals and the radiation that are causing the weight gain and the low ATP. And Heather and I have talked about the accelerated ancient salt being super important for helping with your cellular health and intracellular water hydration, not the extracellular water that is leads to inflammation. And her in-body machine, which is amazing to tell you what your body composition is. It's not just a number on the scale that tells you lies and plays with your brain, but it's telling you your muscle mass, your skeletal, your lean mass, your fat-free mass, your fat, your visceral fat, but also telling you your intracellular and your extracellular hydration. And that's where the accelerated ancient salt comes in. It has 62 minerals, replenishes those electrolytes, but it supports an appetite. It actually can help with nausea. Most people with fatty liver disease or a backed up liver get nauseous when they eat too much fat. But that is something that you can put on your tongue and use to help with appetite, and just obviously tastes really good on food. Also using the cellular detox powder to soak up all the toxins, because when you are doing treatments on these PEMF devices, you are detoxing, right? So we need something to capture those toxins, to carry them out through the colon and not burden our liver and our kidneys as much. I know some of these, the biocharger and the amp coil, can create a Herx reaction for some people that are very sensitive. So that's where the cellular detox powder comes in to soak that up and help mitigate any negative side effect or negative detox effect. And then, of course, the liver flush, which is super important for everybody. And it's much easier for all of you. If you've ever done it before, don't be scared again. I've made the process so much easier, but it actually helps break down the proteins and fats, eliminates the cramps and inflammation in your body, helps lower AST and ALT liver enzymes. So if you've gotten your blood test and your doctor's not happy, it will definitely help with that. I have a client who was signed up to get her gallbladder removed. She had thousands and thousands of stones. When I mean thousands and thousands, she did repeated liver flushes. I think she probably did 8, and thousands came out every single time. She went back to the doctor, and the doctor said, "You're clean. We do not need to schedule any surgery," and she's keeping her gallbladder. So it works. It reverses fatty liver disease, eliminates those toxins, and boosts the immune system. So The Nuke No More is the last supplement I'll talk about, and that is helping to detox heavy metals and radiation. It's scalar enhanced, but it's the only supplement that has been shown to zero out the body out of all non-ionizing and ionizing radiation. So it works with all of these PEMFs as you're detoxing. So real quick, Heather, I wanted to just touch on the patches and how they would be incorporated to enhance and stack with the PEMF devices.
Yeah, I mean, the X39 specifically with the increase of stem cells, I mean, it just makes the body work at such a faster level because the body's so smart. It prioritizes, it knows what cells it needs. And with increasing your pluripotent stem cells and, reactivating the ones that are dormant, it's just going to help that regeneration process happen a lot faster. They're just very synergistic. I mean, with any technology that we layer, the majority of our clients use the X39 every single day on the back of their neck, unless they have something acute. As far as for flow in the body and natural energy, the energy enhancer, I know those are both of our favorites. Exactly. Mine are at the bottom of my feet. Otherwise, I would show you. But that just helps with the flow of the body, and that's basically what we want to do. You want the body to flow, whether it's the blood flow or the lymphatic flow. The second the body becomes stagnant, that's when there's major issues. So when you're incorporating technologies like the Bemer or lymphatic drainage or PEMF in general, it's increasing flow. Something like the energy enhancer patches, that's what they do as well. They're going to also increase that ATP, so the body performs at higher levels. I'm trying to think, because we kind of stay on with what PEMF is doing and which other patches I love. So PEMF, there's tons of studies proving what it does for inflammation. Inflammation is the root of every disease or pain state. And that's something we can actually claim, it helps reduce inflammation. The Eon patch is something that also very synergistically helps reduce inflammation. They also call it the happy patch. So, as far as people are dealing with depression, anxiety, where a lot of people are dealing with that patch is really, really important. I use it every single night, sleep with it.
Yeah, and I because we're about finished here, and those would be my top three that I would talk about. But with all of this, with the supplements, with the technologies, PEMF, all the devices, the importance of hydration. And I know Heather, whenever you walk into her office, her ladies are always pushing the water and handing out, and it's delicious water, by the way. I think it's my favorite water. But the importance of hydration, because that is creating the electricity in the body. And you can't have these things work. And across the board, when you are looking at all of these different companies with all of these different devices, they say and talk about the importance of hydration as you're doing treatments or journeys or recipes, whatever they have or whatever they call. And then, of course, if you are incorporating these things, healthy diet, it's only going to magnify your results. There's one funny story. There's a device called the Skio machine, and that was my first introduction to all of these technologies. It's a $40,000 machine, and I used to go to a practitioner and get scans and stuff. But he would tell me that he had this one client that would go out and binge drink all weekend and come in on a Monday morning to get back on track. Now, that's great and all, but why not just let's stay on track and keep moving forward to be our optimal self? So that's, focus on wild animal protein, get rid of the standard American diet, get rid of the seed oils, the canola oil, get rid of the high fructose corn syrup, get rid of the sodas. Those are the very basics, and you're going to start feeling better. And then you're going to get more out of these things that you're incorporating, which then you're going to want to start incorporating more. So thank you, Heather. And you can find Heather at Ascent Adaptation. And the link will be below in the notes. So definitely check her out. And her facility is my Disneyland. So I love it. I crave it, and all of the technologies work together. I love stacking them. So thanks for joining us today. And if I can help you with your health issues, you can contact me directly through the website, SARABANTAHEALTH.com, and join the free group coaching with the link below, the Telegram link. I teach you on a daily basis with tips and tools to enhance your health. What'd you learn today? Have you tried any of these PEMF devices? Have you shopped around? Which ones work for you and which ones were you not impressed with? I'd love to hear. And you can follow me on Facebook under Accelerated Health Products and Instagram, and across all over 100 channels under Accelerated Health TV and radio show. Join us every week, Mondays at 2 p.m. Pacific, Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific, and you can use coupon WELCOME10 for 10% off site-wide. Thanks again for joining us here, and have a great week.